right, so this next song that we're going to be listening to is One for No One by Mentally Blind. This is their first single, and they want me to check it out, so I'm going to check it out. Let's have a look. Let's have a listen. Not one for introductions this time. We're just going to go dive straight into it. So this one's called, so one more time. It's called One for No One by Mentally Blind. Let's have a look. Interesting melody.
Let's just drown in fears alone. Empty shapes and empty walls. Every possible instinct.
Nice little major lift right there. I'm trying to read the energy of this. Interesting guitar work right there, but there's two different chords playing on top of each other. Lead singer looks like he's tripping. The mix is interesting. I don't know, there's parts of it that I like, but there's something about it I'm not sure about.
You take your life.
That was cool.
I'm burning alive for payday. In the rest of the perspective. I'm burning alive for payday. I'm a fear will all make me name this. I saw this. Maybe some time we can have some. I did me. We are now. It's the day and of it. It's the day and of it.
I got mixed feelings about this. When it got heavy, when I could hear his voice really up front, more up front, in the heavier parts, I felt like the song finally had an identity. I don't know how else to say it. Like, that's the only way I know how to say this, is that, like, I felt like the identity of the song was ambiguous up until those moments, and then when those moments came through, I was like, oh, now I hear it. And it's not just because it was heavy. It was actually because of the confidence in his own vocal tonality and his delivery. Like, I think this had more to do with the vocals than it did with the musicality of the song. The musicality of the song was pretty good. It was nothing that, like, really blew me away, and it was just a lot of ambiguity surrounding the identity of the song. If I can just elaborate on that, it would be the fact that the vocals the whole time except in those moments where his voice got very resonant. His vocals mixed. It could be the mix. There's too many layers of his own vocals, so that it feels almost like a chorus of vocals the whole time. And they're kind of going for that Phrygian scale, major lift in certain sections or whatever effect. And I think it might be, while I love those kind of scales, sometimes that the major lift can be a little cliche unless you do it tastefully, unless you do it really, really tastefully, it can come across as a little bit cliche. And cliche isn't always bad, but it was just very predictable in its presentation. And because of the vocal work or overly mixed vocals, I couldn't really vibe with the song. Like, I couldn't establish what the vibe even was. The chorus vocally, I felt, was a little bit weak. I felt like the chorus didn't hook me in. It didn't bring me in, didn't have a hook. Ba, 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 ba. That's the only melody that's really hooking in my head. And that's not, in my opinion, not a very strong melody. But I think because I couldn't pinpoint the identity of the song, except for those two heavy moments where I could hear his voice much more present and upfront, which I really liked. I felt like if his voice was mixed and present and in its delivery with that kind of same level of confidence up front the entire time, then I would have been able to been hooked into this song. I really feel like I would have been able to be like, oh, whoa, that was, I'm with it. I'm feeling it. I'm getting it. It's making sense. I'm vibing with this. It was almost like a mirage of vocals. It's almost like he's a phantom because he's supposed to be the voice of the song, and it sounds like I'm listening to like this apparition. I can't really get into it. I don't know how else to explain that, but that's my best shot at explaining what I'm feeling when I hear it. It's not a bad song. I'll give them a like. I'll go ahead and give them a like. As far as the music was concerned, I wasn't like blown away, but I wasn't bored either. So I don't know. It's interesting. So I'll just leave it at that. Let's check out the lyrics. When he says every empty shapes and empty words, every passed by image stings. It's almost like, sounds like a news feed or like a social media feed. That's what I think of when I hear that. Give me a reason to live this madness, which we live in times of madness, that's for sure. Let's now sing a nightmare song without melody and words. Well, there are melodies and there are words in this song. So I don't know how you're going to do that. How can you sing without melody or words? And how can you write that in a song with melody and words while claiming you're singing a nightmare song? Is this a nightmare song, or are you talking about a different song? I'm sorry. I think when he's saying I'm burning alive is like I'm on fire to escape this cold reality. And that probably has something to do with him feeling like he has no free will or being nameless because of what I presume to be social media. Our society is no longer face-to-face. You're watching a video of me looking at I'm looking at a camera, but it seems like I'm talking to you, but I'm really not. I'm actually just talking to a camera, but I'm able to communicate these ideas to you as though you're in front of me and you're still having a face-to-face kind of a virtual face-to-face interaction. And I think what he's talking about is how social media and the way that we all interact with each other now is no longer face-to-face and is now on these cold screens that we carry. And we type words to each other, aggressively more often than not. It's not the way it's supposed to be. Let's just leave it at that. There's a theme of like madness, and I think that has to do with the mannequins and stuff. Like, people are no longer real, and maybe that's why he looks like he was tripping the whole time. He was like this the whole time. I'm not sure what this is about, but he was all like, like I'm like contorting and like something's trying to mold him into a mannequin. The video was super, super widescreen. They used lots of cool colors, lots of cool color correction rather, with the blue to purple like fade gradients and stuff like that. The video editing was well done for the most part. I mean, you can't really go wrong with props and an empty room, you know, like, so I can't tell right now. I think the video was pushed out in 30 frames per second. It would have looked a little bit better at 24. I'm pretty sure it's at 30. It's looking like it's at 30. I'll see if I can verify that if it's at 30 when I download it, but it would have been better at 24 frames per second. It would have looked a little more convincing. I do think that the video had a higher quality to it, but there's still some element about it that I'm not convinced by. Visually, it works. The frame rate I have an issue with. The lyrics, I couldn't really understand or get into. I definitely don't know. I don't even know where the chorus is. What is the chorus? Is it "I'm burning alive, I'm fading"? Is that what it is? But the chorus I had a problem with because it didn't have a hook. It didn't hook me in, and I wish it did. Lots of potential here, for sure. Lots of potential. Mentally Blind. They got lots of views for a single, especially for less than a month. They already have 70,000 views. They've been promoting the heck out of this thing, so good for you guys getting this thing promoted. They had lots of help with this video. The video was very, very interesting. I liked the use of color. I felt some of it by the lead singer was overperformed with this stuff, but I'm not into that kind of like presentation when it comes to singing. Like, I'd just rather him just sing the song like he normally would, but I think they're just trying to add some sort of creep factor, like scariness or spooky vibe to the video because of all the mannequins and stuff. And so that might have not been a decision that they made, but I felt like it took away from it. And then my biggest issue is the vocal mix, except for those two spots where it finally became present. I think they could have gotten away with less of the vocal ambient chorusy-ness of it all, and they could have done more with less, which is just have one voice be up front most of the time, you know, and then maybe cut to those kind of more ambient vocals during a few spots. But I felt like it was like that the whole time, except for like those two heavy spots, and they were so brief that it didn't compensate for the rest of it. So I'm mixed. I have mixed feelings about this song. That's how I feel about it.